The Emperor's mind control, mastering mental domination over circumstances. Let me ask you something that will fundamentally expose the difference between those who rule and those who are ruled. What if I told you that every emperor, every conqueror, every person who has ever dominated their circumstances, rather than been dominated by them, has mastered one skill above all others? What if I told you that this skill isn't strategy, isn't connections, isn't even intelligence, but something far more powerful that most people never even realize exists? The ability to achieve complete mental domination over any circumstance, any challenge, any force that attempts to control their destiny. Tonight, you're going to discover what I call the Emperor's mind control, the ancient art of mental domination that allows you to rule your circumstances rather than be ruled by them, to command your environment rather than be commanded by it, and to build unshakable mental sovereignty that makes you unstoppable under any pressure. But first, let me take you inside the mind of a man who demonstrated the ultimate mastery of mental domination while facing the most impossible circumstances imaginable. The Fortress of Absolute Control. It was March 15, 1880 AD, and Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, was dying on the Germanic frontier. Plague was ravaging his armies, barbarian tribes were attacking from all sides, his own generals were plotting against him, and his empire was crumbling from within. Yet Marcus Aurelius, in his final days, wrote these words: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." While every external circumstance screamed disaster, Marcus Aurelius maintained what he called the Inner Citadel, an unbreachable fortress of mental control that no external force could penetrate. Wars could rage, plagues could spread, empires could fall, but his mind remained sovereign, unconquerable, supreme. Marcus Aurelius had discovered the ultimate secret of imperial power. The emperor who controls his own mind can control any circumstance. The ruler who masters his own thoughts can master any challenge. The leader who dominates his own mental state can dominate any environment. That night, as Marcus Aurelius faced death itself, he demonstrated the most profound form of mental domination ever recorded. He chose his mental response to the ultimate uncontrollable circumstance. He turned his deathbed into a throne of philosophical triumph, his final moments into a demonstration of absolute mental sovereignty. The discovery of mental domination. Through 20 years of studying powerful leaders, Napoleon Hill discovered that every person who had achieved extraordinary dominance over their circumstances had developed what he called mental domination capabilities, the ability to maintain absolute psychological control regardless of external conditions. Hill found that mental domination operates through 5 interconnected systems that work together to create unshakable mental sovereignty. System 1, thought command. The ability to choose your thoughts consciously rather than react to circumstances unconsciously. System 2, emotional sovereignty. The capacity to generate your desired emotional state independent of external events. System 3, focus mastery. The power to direct your attention wherever you choose, regardless of distractions or pressure. System 4, response control. The skill to choose your responses to any situation rather than being controlled by automatic reactions. System 5, reality programming. The capability to interpret events in ways that serve your goals rather than undermine your power. Hill discovered that these 5 systems work together to create what Marcus Aurelius called the Inner Citadel, a mental fortress so strong that no external circumstance can breach it. System 1, thought command. The foundation of mental domination. The first system of mental domination is developing absolute command over your thought processes. Most people are slaves to their thoughts. They think whatever circumstances trigger them to think. But emperors of the mind think what they choose to think when they choose to think it. Winston Churchill, the master of thought command. Churchill's leadership during World War II demonstrates perfect thought command under the most extreme pressure. When Britain stood alone against the Nazi war machine, when bombing raids destroyed London nightly, when invasion seemed inevitable, Churchill's mind remained absolutely controlled. Churchill's thought command protocol. Daily thought auditing. Every morning, Churchill would spend 30 minutes reviewing and selecting his thoughts for the day. He would identify any fear-based or defeat-oriented thoughts from the previous day, consciously replace them with thoughts, victory and resolution. Choose specific thoughts that would serve Britain's defense strategy. Program his mind with thoughts that would inspire others to resist. Crisis thought mastery. During critical moments, air raids, military to political crises, Churchill would implement what he called thought substitution. He would think, this is how we win. Instead of the situation is hopeless, he would think, this is our finest hour. Circumstance reframing. Churchill developed the ability to reframe any circumstance through thought control. Raids became tests of British resolve. Isolation became our moment to prove British independence. Impossible odds became opportunities for legendary victory. Your thought command training. Week 1-2, thought awareness. Spend 2 weeks observing your thought patterns without trying to change them. What types of thoughts dominate your mind during stress? How do circumstances trigger automatic thought responses? Alternatives, this is create a thought arsenal of powerful thoughts for different situations. Practice immediate thought substitution when defeating thoughts arise. Develop thought patterns that support mental domination rather than mental slavery. Week 5-6, thought programming. Begin program your mind with specific thoughts that serve your imperial goals. A morning thought selection and installation. Crisis thought protocols for challenging situations. Evening thought review and refinement. System 2, emotional sovereignty, generating power from within. The second system of mental domination is achieving complete sovereignty over your emotional state. Most people are emotional slaves. Their feelings are determined by their circumstances. But mental dominators generate their emotions from within, independent of external conditions. Theodore Roosevelt. The emotional sovereign. Roosevelt's response to personal and political crises demonstrates perfect emotional sovereignty. When his mother and wife died on the same day, when political enemies attacked him mercilessly, when physical challenges threatened his health, Roosevelt maintained emotional control and generated the exact emotional states needed for dominance. Roosevelt's emotional sovereignty. System emotional state selection. Roosevelt would consciously choose his emotional state based on what the situation required. Combat situations generated controlled aggression and fearless determination. Negotiation scenarios produced calm confidence and strategic patience. Leadership moments created inspiring enthusiasm and unshakable certainty. Crisis management maintained steady resolve and clear-headed analysis. Emotional independence training. Roosevelt practiced generating emotions independent of circumstances. Joy without cause. Practicing happiness regardless of external events. Confidence without evidence, generating certainty before seeing proof. Enthusiasm without success, maintaining passion during setbacks. Peace during storm, creating calm in the midst of chaos. Emotional contagion mastery. Roosevelt learned to spread his chosen emotions to others, ally emotions generating inspiration that others could feel and adopt. Confidence transmission, projecting certainty that made others believe. Courage communication, broadcasting fearlessness that eliminated others' fears. Victory vibration, emanating success that attracted successful outcomes. Your emotional sovereignty development. Phase 1, emotional awareness. Week 1-2 state. Phase 2, emotional independence. Week 3-4, emotional protocols for different types of situations. Master emotional contagion to influence others' emotional states. Integrate emotional sovereignty into your leadership and decision-making. System 3, focus mastery. The power of concentrated attention. The third system of mental domination is developing absolute mastery over your focus and attention. Mental dominators direct their attention like a laser beam, concentrating their mental energy exactly where they choose regardless of distractions, pressures, or chaos. Alexander the Great, the master of focus. Alexander's military conquests demonstrate perfect focus mastery under extreme pressure. During the Battle of Gaugamela, facing Darius's army of over 250,000 men with only 47,000 troops, Alexander maintained such precise mental focus that he could identify and exploit a single weakness in the enemy formation while chaos raged around him. Alexander's focus mastery methods. Single-point concentration. Alexander trained his ability to focus intensely on one element while ignoring all distractions. Battlefield focus. Concentrating on strategic opportunities while ignoring fear, noise, and chaos. Political focus. Maintain attention on long-term empire building despite immediate pressures. Personal focus. Directing mental energy toward growth and learning rather than comfort or pleasure. Attention control under pressure. Alexander developed techniques for maintaining focus during extreme stress. Training. Practicing concentration during physical and mental challenges. Crisis focus protocols. Predetermined focus strategies for different types of emergencies. Multi-level awareness. Maintaining strategic focus while monitoring tactical details. Focus amplification. Alexander learned to intensify his focus to superhuman levels. Tunnel vision command. eliminating peripheral distractions to concentrate maximum mental power. Time dilation focus, slowing mental time perception during critical moments. 360-degree awareness, expanding focus to monitor multiple variables simultaneously. Your focus mastery training, Level 1 basic concentration, Week 1-2, pressure focus, Week 3-4. Practice concentration during stress, noise, and interruption. Develop focus protocols for different types of challenging situations. Learn to intensify focus under pressure rather than losing it. Level 3, strategic focus, Week 5-6. Focus for complex situations. Develop ability to shift focus rapidly between different priorities. Integrate focus mastery into leadership and decision-making processes. System 4, response control, choosing your reactions. The fourth system of mental domination is developing complete control over your responses to any situation. Mental slaves react automatically to circumstances. Mental dominators choose their responses consciously to maximize their power and achieve their goal. Julius Caesar, the master of response control. Caesar's crossing of the Rubicon River demonstrates perfect response control. Faced with the Senate's ultimatum to disband his armies or be declared an enemy of Rome, Caesar could have responded with anger, fear, or desperation. Instead, he chose a response that would transform him from general to emperor. The die is cast. Caesar's response control system, response gap creation. Caesar trained himself to create a mental gap between stimulus and response assessment, evaluating how different responses would serve his goals. Strategic response selection, choosing responses based on long-term rather than short-term thinking. Emotional response mastery. Caesar learned to choose his emotional responses strategically. Controlled anger, using anger as a tool rather than being controlled by it. Strategic patience, choosing patience when immediate action would be disadvantageous. Tactical enthusiasm, generating excitement when inspiration was needed. Calculated mercy, showing mercy when it would create loyalty and obligation. Power-based response design. Caesar always responded in ways that increased rather than decreased his power, turning attacks into opportunities, responding to criticism by demonstrating superiority, converting obstacles into advantages, using challenges as platforms for displaying capability, transforming enemies into allies, responding to opposition with strategic generosity. Your response control development, Stage 1, response awareness, Week 1-2. Your automatic reaction patterns to different types of situations. Identify responses that serve your goals and responses that sabotage them. Practice creating brief pauses between triggers and responses. Stage 2, response choice, Week 3, challenging situations. Practice choosing responses based on strategic rather than emotional criteria. Build ability to respond with power rather than reactivity. Stage 3, response mastery, Week 5-6. To respond in ways that increase your influence and control, integrate strategic response control into all areas of your life. System 5, reality programming, controlling your interpretation. The fifth system of mental domination is developing the ability to program your interpretation of reality in ways that serve your imperial goals. Mental dominators don't just accept the meaning of events, they create the meaning in ways that increase their power and advance their empire. Napoleon Bonaparte, the reality programming emperor. Napoleon's interpretation of his defeat at Waterloo demonstrates advanced reality programming. Instead of viewing his loss as evidence of his limitations, Napoleon programmed it as temporary setback in an inevitable comeback. Even in exile, Napoleon maintained his imperial identity by programming his circumstances as strategic preparation for his return to power. Napoleon's reality programming methods. Event reinterpretation protocols. Napoleon developed systematic methods for programming the meaning of defeat reframing, converting losses into learning opportunities, and strategic intelligence. Setback programming, interpreting obstacles as tests of imperial worthiness. Opposition analysis, viewing enemies as evidence of his significance and threat level. Challenge transformation, programming difficulties as empire-building exercises. Identity-based reality programming. Napoleon interpreted everything through the lens of his imperial identity. Emperor perspective, viewing events as emperor in training experiences. Destiny programming, interpreting circumstances, preparation for greater power. Legacy thinking, programming events in terms of their historical significance. Strategic narrative, creating meaning that supported his long-term imperial goals. Circumstance sovereignty. Napoleon maintained psychological control regardless of external circumstances. A. Prison as palace, programming exile as strategic retreat and preparation, enemies as teachers, interpreting opposition as advanced education in power, failure as intelligence, programming defeats as reconnaissance for future victory, limitation as liberation, convert restrictions into focuses for concentrated development. Your reality programming system. Level 1, meaning awareness, week 1 to 2. Observe how you currently interpret events and circumstances. Identify interpretations that empower you and interpretations that limit you. Practice question automatic meanings you assign to experiences. Level 2, meaning choice, week 3. Develop multiple interpretations for the same events. Practice choosing meanings that serve your goals rather than undermine them. Create interpretation protocols for different types of challenge situations. Level 3, reality programming mastery, week 5 to 6. Master the ability to program any circumstance in ways that increase your power. Develop identity-based interpretation systems that reinforce your imperial goals. Integrate reality programming into your leadership empire-building activities. The integrated mental domination system. When all 5 systems work together, they create what Marcus Aurelius called the Inner Citadel, a fortress of mental control so strong that no external circumstance can disturb your imperial composure or derail your empire-building progress. The daily mental domination protocol, morning mental preparation minutes. A. Thought command. Select and install empowering thoughts for the day. Emotional sovereignty. Generate the emotional state required for your goals. Focus mastery. Determine priorities and attention allocation. Response control. Review likely challenges and prepare strategic responses. A. Reality programming. Establish interpretation frameworks for the day's events. Midday mental maintenance, 10 minutes. A. System check. Assess the status of all 5 mental domination systems. Strengthen any systems that have been compromised. Afternoon programming. Prepare mental systems for remaining challenges. Evening mental integration, 20 minutes. Day's mental domination experiences. System strengthening. Identify areas for improvement in mental control. Tomorrow's preparation. Program mental systems for enhanced performance. Advanced mental domination techniques. For those ready to develop master-level mental domination capabilities, advanced techniques represent the pinnacle of imperial mental control. The Caesar technique, pressure transformation, converting external pressure into internal power through mental alchemy, transforming pressure into focused energy and enhanced capability. Pressure projection, using absorbed pressure to increase your influence over others. Pressure mastery, becoming stronger under pressure rather than weak. The Churchill method, crisis leadership, maintaining mental domination during extreme circumstances. Crisis clarity, achieving enhanced mental clarity under pressure. Crisis communication, projecting mental control to inspire others during chaos. Crisis opportunity, identifying advantage available only during crisis situations. Crisis transformation, using crisis as accelerated empire-building opportunities. The Marcus Aurelius system, philosophical sovereignty, developing philosophical foundations for unshakable mental control. Principle-based thinking, making decisions based on unchanging principles rather than changing circumstances. Temporal perspective, viewing current challenges from historical and eternal perspective. Character integration, aligning mental domination with highest character ideals. Wisdom application, using philosophical wisdom to maintain perspective during any challenge. The Alexander Protocol, strategic mental warfare, using mental domination as a strategic weapon for empire expansion to discourage opposition. Leadership magnetism, using mental domination to attract followers and allies. Victory programming, programming mental systems for inevitable triumph. The mental domination laws, through studying the greatest mental dominators in history, 5 fundamental laws emerge that govern the development and application of mental control. Law 1, the law of mental sovereignty. Your mind is the only territory over which you have complete sovereignty. All other power begins with establishing absolute control over your mental domain. Law 2, the law of internal-external correlation. Your level of control over external circumstances directly correlates with your level of control over your internal mental state. Law 3, the law of mental momentum. Mental domination systems become stronger through consistent use and weaker through neglect. Regular practice compounds into unshakable mental power. Law 4, The law of circumstance transcendence. Advanced mental domination allows you to maintain identical performance levels regardless of external circumstances. Law 5. The law of imperial presence. True mental domination radiates outward, influencing and controlling the mental states of others through presence alone. Your mental domination revolution, and now we come to the moment of ultimate choice. You've discovered the 5 systems that every emperor, every conqueror, every person who has dominated their circumstances has mastered. You've learned the exact methods that Marcus Aurelius, Churchill, Roosevelt, Caesar, Napoleon, and Alexander used to maintain mental control under the most extreme pressure imaginable. The question isn't whether mental domination works. The achievements of history's greatest leaders prove its power beyond any doubt. The question is, will you develop the discipline to master these systems and claim your rightful throne as emperor of your own mind? Most people will hear about mental domination and think it sounds impressive. Some will try the techniques for a few days and then return to being slaves of their circumstances. A few will systematically develop these systems and will discover that mental sovereignty leads inevitably to external dominance. Which group will you join? Remember, every emperor who has ever ruled an external empire first conquered the empire of his own mind. Every leader who has dominated circumstances first achieved domination over his own thoughts, emotions, focus, responses, and interpretations. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire because he first ruled his own mental empire. Churchill saved Britain because he first saved his own mind from defeat. Caesar conquered Gaul because he first conquered his own mental limitations. Your circumstances are waiting to be dominated. Your challenges are waiting to be transformed into victories. Your empire is waiting to be built. But first, you must claim your throne as emperor of your own mind. Your imperial coronation begins now. If this message has awakened the emperor within your mind, if you're ready to stop being a slave to your circumstances and start being the master of your mental domain, if you're finally ready to develop the unbreakable mental sovereignty that makes you unstoppable under any pressure, then I need you to take action immediately. Like this video if you're ready to develop mental domination capability. Subscribe to this channel if you want ongoing training in imperial mental control. Comment below and declare, I claim sovereignty over my mind. I am the emperor of my mental domain. Share this message with someone who needs to discover their mental domination potential. When you help others develop mental sovereignty, you strengthen your own imperial capabilities. Remember, your mind is your empire. Your thoughts are your subjects. Your emotions are your armies. Your focus is your weapon. Your responses are your strategies. Your interpretations are your law. An emperor who cannot control his own empire cannot hope to build external empires. A ruler who is enslaved by his own thoughts cannot hope to lead others to freedom. But when you master the 5 systems of mental domination, when you build the inner citadel that no external force can penetrate, when you achieve true sovereignty over your mental domain, then you become unstoppable. The emperor's crown is waiting. The throne of mental sovereignty is prepared. Your coronation as master of your own mind begins with your next thought. Choose domination over slavery. Choose sovereignty over subservience. Choose the emperor's mind over the peasant's reactions. Your mental empire awaits your rule. Claim your throne. Rule your mind. Dominate your circumstances. The emperor's mind control revolution starts now.